Brown, Division Chief with Sherman Fire-Rescue down in Sherman, Texas. Here at the SVI plant here in Colorado, doing final inspection on our Metro Fire cell of a Metro Star Spartan chassis on a SVI Heavy Rescue body. It's the first heavy rescue for our department. We run rescue, primarily swiftwater, high angle, trench rescue, and confined space for our entire county. This truck is going to be able to condense 3 other vehicles into one. We chose a cab that could kind of double dip as a command vehicle needed on a long scene, so we went with the 20-inch raised roof on the Spartan Metro cab, just for resilience and able to stand and stretch our legs in the command scene inside. We wanted this truck to be able to operate as a command vehicle if necessary, which was the reason that we chose our 20-inch raised roof. It would let our command staff actually sit in with computers, with their laptops, with their radios. If they get tired of sitting on those long scenes, they can stand up. I'm 6'2". I can stand in this cab completely and still have a little bit of headroom. Would have to take our fire helmets off, but other than that, for that comfort. We added an EMS module on both sides. Our department runs about 5,000 EMS calls a year. So we added an EMS module on both sides. It's accessible from the inside of the cab, and then small doors on the outside, so quick access when our guys get off the rig, they can grab that necessary equipment. For this heavy rescue, we also chose a severe duty front bumper with a 28-inch expansion. We chose the big expansion because we were able to purchase Evo 3 Hamatro battery operated tools. So we'll have a full complement inside. So mounted on one side will be the spreader, mounted on the other will be the cutter and the ram, and then in the center with the drop box will be all the battery chargers and the ram block. So easy access, real quick access for those real quick extrications. We added a Q2 siren, 2 air horns, 2 electronic sirens, and buried in behind the diamond plate are 2 howler sirens for that intersection busting that's activated by brake pedal touch and release. On this design, one thing we really worked on a lot for that curbside appeal, if you will, is we wanted a smooth transition from the 20-inch raised roof of our cab to our body. So if you notice there's just a slight height difference there from the cab to the body. We just did that for, aesthetics look. So on our truck, again, keeping in mind for our department, this is going to be a 15 to 25 year truck. So we had to think not only what do we need today, what are we going to need in the future. So with that being said, on our first compartment here on Curbside, we have the EMS module as well that we run with our rescue. So we had a safety door built. That is a lift. And slide in out of the way. This compartment was built for a Stokes basket for those rescues, 2 EMS long backboards, and our monopod system for our rope rescues. So storage there, shelf comes up and secures it. And this is accessible from both sides, so you can pull all that equipment out either side. Our thought process on this cabinet as well was extrication cribbing for cribbing our vehicles, our auto jacks, auto rescue jacks, that sort of thing. Those items tend to be bulky and long, so we came up with this 1,000-pound transverse tray OnScene slide. Gives us abilities to attach to a standing wall and also in the floor of the compartment. So again, there will be ropes here, there will be carabiner bags, boxes of miscellaneous equipment, and then our rescue jacks and that sort of thing. Again, it's transverse, so you can operate it from Streetside or Curbside. Down below, we did have to take in consideration the electronic modules. So what we're going to have here, again, the rope rescues, we have a tendency to be below grade on a lot of things. So we're going to have our winch mounted here, and then a box of chains and straps as well. This is a slide out tray. We do have anchor points. If you see the top, there's a black anchor point for ropes. And then at the wheel well, you will see the mount there for the winch. So moving on down the curb side of the truck, this compartment was in our mind was going to be our trench rescue and structural collapse compartment. So we had 2 on-scene slide transverse trays placed, each being 1,000 pounds each. So on these trays, in our head, this is where we're going to take all of our Paratech equipment from our Paratech trench trailer and mount those in this compartment. So we'll have the ability to, again, mount to the walls and to in the floor of the tray as well. Down here, this is kind of going to be our gas department, if you will, because we don't want gas fumes with our ropes and with our webbings, okay, especially our safety lines. So in this tray will be our hydraulic gas-powered TNT tools. They will have mounts placed in here, so this will be our gas-powered. Above, we put a module for just extra SCBA bottles. The truck does, as we move around the side of the truck, you're going to see that we put a onboard Cascade system on. So we put some extra SCBA bottles kind of tucked away up top in some of that normal space that is normal just headroom. So we wanted to utilize every space that we could. So this is one of our favorite compartments of the truck. It took a long time to decide and design and where do we place this equipment. It's fairly simple, but there was a whole lot of planning and thinking and conversation of this module. So this module is actually for full sheets. You don't have to trim them down. The guys can go straight to their local hardware store, buy their plywood, a little safety door that's accessible both sides. So this compartment's built for 6 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood. We can just run to the Home Depot, the Lowe's, the Ace Hardware, whatever it is your local store is, slide those in. We don't have to trim them, all that. So lots of use for plywood. Okay, we decided this was the best place to keep it, right over the rear wheels, just for that weight capacity. Okay, put a tray on top. So those extra 2x4s that we need, those extra 2x6s that we think about, those studs that we use more and more often than the fire service, whether it's for a little more extra height on cribbing, whether it's walling up a window or covering a hole we vented in a roof, we have that ability as well. Above that, we put our airbag module. So we built a module for each size airbag that our department covers, and we had that system placed in as well. One thing that we run into at our department, didn't realize it was an ordeal until we've ordered some of our larger equipment, is where do you get your fuel? If your city or municipality doesn't have its own fill stations, if you go to the local gas stations, sometimes it's a little awkward to get in there the right direction where your fuel cap is. So one thing we added to this truck was diesel fill stations on both sides of the vehicle to kind of eliminate some of those issues at the gas pumps. Curbside forward compartment. As you can see the back side of our Cascade system with our 4 6,000 pound bottles inside that operate the Cascade system. With that option, we had 3 shelves that we can just use for miscellaneous items. There's a discussion about making this top one, just because of the height, a electronic battery power, so charging our battery powered drills and skill saws, that sort of thing, up top on an angle. And then just miscellaneous tools and equipment here. One thing we looked at real heavily is putting in a Lista box, basically a toolbox, pull trays out where you can put your hand tools in, and that's still in discussion on this compartment. Works really good on these trucks, lots of options there for that system. We added 3 pull-out tool boards, so we can mount our hand tools, our Halligans, our axes, that sort of thing, any little appliance that you may feel the need for on this rescue truck. So we have 3 of those on that option. One other thing, rescue trucks are always on the highway. we all carry some kind of oil dry. It's generally in a plastic bucket or in a brown paper sack that ends up getting a crack in it or a hole in the bag, and we get that oil sorb all over our trucks. Just a nasty mess. So we came with this option with a hopper. It's a top fill off the top of the truck. Holds 60 pounds of oil dry with a pull-out tube. Place your 5-gallon bucket, go dump, and come back. So we don't have those busted bags of oil dry on our truck. It's contained to the back of the truck. Just another little feature that SVI and Spartan offer on their trucks. So which brings us to the back of the truck. Again, another one of those areas of our truck that we took a whole lot of time and talking to other departments, going and visiting other departments, getting pros and cons of a walk-up staircase or ladder access to the back of the truck for that awesome usable space on the top of the rig. We chose the walk-up staircase mainly for safety and ease of access of carrying that equipment up and down versus a ladder. So with this access, we have a fold down step. You can see our winch point on the back as well. We had this little tray made in the back just for those chains, the winch controller, that sort of stuff that you would need ground level at the back of the truck versus having to walk around to find those items. Just using some of that space that's going to be underneath these steps that we normally wouldn't have access to. Going along with the storage here, one thing that we talked about within our department is with our trench rescue and some of our structural collapse, we need some bigger pieces of lumber, some 4x4s or 6x6s, and those generally need to be 10 to 12 foot long. Was there a place on this truck that we could put a few of those for that first 10 or 15 minutes of the response before we could get a trailer of that equipment here? So working with Metro, working with Metro Fire out of Houston, Texas, working with SVI here in Colorado, we came up with a plan, if you will, with me here. We added this compartment with the lift-up door. This compartment will hold 6 4x4s 12 foot long, 8 2x4s 12 foot long. We did add 2 pike poles, duo safety pike poles, and an attic ladder, just for those areas that we do need ladders for. Maybe there's not a ladder truck there available or a pumper that has the right ladder. We have some access here with our rescue truck. So we moved to the top of the truck. Again, lots of storage up here. We were able to put 4 28-inch deep casket tubs on both sides of the truck. When we sat down in pre-construction for this truck, the initial design was to carry them as far forward as we could. We talked about other items about, what are we going to store up here? What do we need? So you may not be able to see it in the shot right now, but we put a tub up front for a future add of a LED light tower. So that is already pre-wired, it's set there. So we have that extension, but we decided what can we do behind it? So again, talking with SVI and Metro Fire on what our options were, we came up with, hey, why not put another casket across the front of the truck for that storage, okay? Again, we talked about below in the compartment we have our monopod system. We put the 4 anchors for our ropes. So we were able to put those anchor systems in this casket right here by the device, so we don't have to grab something from the ground to come up here and slide into that system. Just another neat option that we could add to the truck up top, working with guys that build these trucks all day long and see what our options are. So really proud of this option. I think it's going to serve us well. So moving around to Streetside, we're going to start Streetside 4. In this compartment, again, we talked about briefly on the other side when we were talking about our SCBA bottle holders. We did add a 2 explosion chamber Cascade system to this truck. So we have that ability to fill on scene because this truck will end up on those long scenes, whether it be a rescue from a trench, from a structural collapse to a highway auto accident. And we can also utilize this truck as a structural fire response, kind of a rehab, if you will, in a sense, to come in and fill our bottles on scene versus having to wait till we get back to the station and delay our response to our next call. So we discussed this, was this a viable option, and we were able to work that out. In this compartment we added our just extension cord. We have an onboard hydraulic driven generator that's hanging between the frame rails, and we added a 200-foot cord just for those situations that you may not want to use battery powered tools, or you're going to be out there a while and your batteries may die. We can bring electrical power to our scene as well. Below this, we just decided that, hey, there's always something a fireman needs, whether it be a claw hammer, a nail, or a screwdriver. Where do we put those? So we just came up with a module to add these bins that we can label as we so choose. The guys can grab the bin and take it to the scene and have that situation and bring it back to the truck. On this one, instead of the airbag module, we actually put an on-scene out and down tray. Our thought process here is with this module, we can put some of our Swiftwater gear, we can put our helmets, our safety vests, our throw bags, something that we can maybe put a spider cover strap over that hold them in place and slide them up inside. The out and down helps a lot, not tippy-toeing trying to find it. It actually brings it down to where your firemen can see what they need there. As you can tell, this is a tall truck. I'm a 6'2" guy, but think about the little things of washing this truck. I got to dry it off. I can't reach the top. How do I do that? Fire stations normally aren't built with wash racks that have standing. So one thing we added was a step ladder offered by Little Giant, so the guys can maneuver around. They can reach those top areas. Something really light to move around. Can be used on scene if we need to, if we don't need a really tall ladder. Firemen, we always get called to the scene to change out a smoke detector. We really don't want to take a 6-foot nasty fire ladder inside, so we came up with this module as well. So it's a dual purpose ladder. On just a Velcro strap holding it in from OnScene slide, and then the Defender series 14-foot extension Little Giant ladder as well, multi-purpose in this compartment.